I shoot probably like every time I go up there, it's like 2 bears and I'll get an elk. I've never like dedicated myself to moose or mule deer. And the last time I was there, I saw, I don't know, it was like a 160, 175 inch mule deer. Like he was massive, and he was 15 yards away.
It's crazy. I was talking to one of my buddies who works for one of the kind of rep groups over here, and he's like, yeah, I just got a red stag. It's not that good.
See,
The antlers that he showed me were bigger than any elk I've ever seen. And it was a red stag.
Really?
Just like,
and it's not a big deal.
And he's just like
those guys that shoot all those giant red stags are like, this is a decent one, and it's like a 400 inch, and I'm like, that's massive.
How can you not be happy with that?
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, welcome into the second day of the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers Show. That's NASGW here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm sitting alongside my good buddy Ben Bachmeier, AAC. They're back because of this guy. So Ben, how you doing?
Oh, pretty good. We
were actually just talking about our hunting exploits and everything else, and we have so much in common, but it's like we're public land guys. I hunt private a lot because I have that access to me, but we're public land junkies.
Yeah, I mean, if you have access to private lands, you should definitely do that. But hunters shouldn't be afraid of like going out to or being scared of being able to be successful on public land. You can do it.
Yeah. Well, you just did it.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah. Yeah, he says, yes, but we were just over in the AAC booth talking about it, and we're going to get into the story because you used a suppressor that really does help.
It does.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I think there's some value there.
There is a lot of value. And hunting with suppressors, if you guys aren't doing it, start doing it today. You're gonna have a great experience. You don't have to wear hearing protection.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
That's a big one because a lot of times they're bulky, and guys, we forget.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I think about my dad, right? So like my dad has hunted his whole life, and he grew up in North Dakota hunting pheasant and partridge and shooting shotguns.
Shotguns all the time.
All the time.
Protection.
And that was back in the 70s, and he'd go to high school, he'd take his shotgun after class, and they'd go. They'd
never
go
get away with that now.
Can't get away with that now, right? But you think about the number of times he shot, and then all the deer he shot in his life. I mean, you could do the math, and you can start looking. You can say, all right, a gunshot. Let's just say even shotguns. Let's just say an average of 150 to 160 dBs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The number of times that he's done that in his life, we can look at it and go, okay, and the real damage is coming from 300 Win Mag, 270 out of a bolt gun, right,
yeah.
when you're hunting. And it's like, okay, and every year, it's like radiation, right?
Yeah.
That damage is happening over your life, and it's just accumulating. And at some point, you're going to have to go get those little, the little hearing aids.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not cheap.
That's like a 4-letter word around someone over the age of 60. Like, they don't want to wear those, but you talk about it, we can solve a lot of that problem with what we're dealing with today, and that's AAC. Give a little background on AAC and where you guys are headed.
Yeah, so AAC, was a privately held company from 1994 to 2009, right? Kevin Brittingham owned it.
Yep.
Then Remington had it, and in 2019, Remington went into what they did.
Yep. We all know.
Yep.
But to their defense, the ammo side, they are coming back in a big way, which is great.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to say is like the elk. Usually I shoot barns, but this year I shot a 300 Win Mag, 180 grain core lock bullet.
Yep.
And it grouped really good in my Tika, and hey.
And it works.
And it worked really well.
And you had a little bit of like kind of caution going in with the core locked, which I kind of find surprising. Like I've always had great use with that.
Oh no, I've always had great use to it, but I was a Barnes guy, and then all of a sudden I had a bunch of 300 Win Mag and the core lock, and I was like, all right, let's see how it groups. Grouped well, had good confidence going in, and I took the Jaeger with me.
Yep.
That's the can that I used this year on the hunt.
So this is the one we're talking about. This is the Jaeger 30, and the good thing about like a Jaeger 30, like let's say it runs the gamut. You can run it on everything.
Yep. And just to finish that previous point that you were asking about, right? Because I want to finish that was then in 2019, 2020, JJE purchased AAC and basically said, hey, you want to come help me start it? And I went, sure. Let's do it.
So you're almost starting from the ground up right now.
100%.
And it's just you.
Well,
I mean, you got a small team.
Yeah, I have a small team. We have our owners who are very involved, and they're not looking to sell it and turn and burn, make profit. They want to hold it. They want to grow the business, which is really that brings a lot of confidence, right?
Yeah.
That they want to take it and they want to build it into something big.
Yeah.
Right. So they have lots of ideas, right? They're like, we want to do cans, we want to do this, we want to do that. I'm like, cool.
You can't tell us yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's going to come down though. But it's good to see AAC back because that was a standard. When guys talked about suppressors and silencers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
AAC was always at the top of mind. I mean, that was a standard, and it's good to see it coming back, and you're doing a lot of stuff different than you did back in the day.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're kind of changing is we used to do paint, and I like Cerakote, but now what I want to do is I want to offer a better coating.
Okay.
I want to take PVD. If it's going to be stainless, it's going to be melanited. If it's aluminum, we're going to anodize it, and if it's titanium, we're going to put a PVD coating on it.
Okay.
And that includes all of your baffles, all of your internals.
So the whole thing's done in a coating.
The whole thing is done in a metal coating, right? So melanite or nitride is the same thing as Tenifer. It's a salt bath nitride, right? So you've heard that, or an FNC process. Your PVD is a physical vapor deposition, which if you've ever seen a end mill that's gold or a Glock barrel that's gold, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
There's different batches, right, and different recipes within that. You can add more tungsten, more zirconium. You can add different materials in there, but you're basically ionically bonding that molecule of a material to the surface metal. So it's not held on by like glue or something, right? It's actually bonded physically using the bonds between the metals.
You're not getting rid of it.
No.
And that's a good thing.
So in a lot of ways, the reason we wanted to do the internals too is because one of the big problems that you get is carbon fouling, right? You get a lot of those issues, especially with rim fire or like lead buildup. When you got to go clean a little rimfire can that you've been shooting 1,000 rounds on, you're dreading it. So we wanted to add something that helped make it easier to clean, but then also extended the lifespan of the can.
Right.
So we've pretty much set that as a standard, and that's what we're going to do going forward.
So before we get into the other two, because we're talking about the Jaeger 30 right now, and honestly the full line, how often, because I know I don't do it often enough, how often should you clean your suppressor?
I mean, me personally, most rifle cans, I almost never clean.
Almost never.
I almost never clean my rifle cans unless they come apart, right?
Right.
I might clean some of the back end on the threads.
Okay.
I might clean some of that I can. And if you wanted to, you could, run some solvents through it to break that carbon up and get it out. Over time, you will see your suppressor start to gain weight, right?
Okay.
Over an extended lifespan, as you shoot more into it, obviously you're depositing more lead or more copper, and that's going to build the weight. Mainly with your rim fire, like the Halcyon, you can go 1,000 rounds. You go 1,200 rounds, and that's generally when you want to clean it.
Right. But this comes apart very easily.
It does. So everything that we have, if it's the same as the Ti-RANTs, it's all toolless.
Okay.
Right? So you want to take it apart. There's no tools. AAC we used to have tools on our old Ti-RANTs and some of our old pistol or rimfire cans, but we just over time, and even when we were at Remington, we came up with that, right? Which was like, we just want to be able to take it, and it's got a little oil on it, but we just want to be able to.
But that's show ready.
It's show ready. Yeah, exactly.
He's got to make it look good here. Come on.
Sorry, man. But everything's toolless. So, because the last thing.
That's beautiful.
The last thing you want to do is get into the field, and you want to be able to change the configuration up, and then you're like, oh crap, I forgot the tool in the truck. Right. Let me go get the tool.
So how do we change the configuration of these? Like, so is it
Yeah. So
mean,
actually,
just unscrew something.
yep. So
That's
same with
basically it.
our modular can. So I didn't bring the 45M out.
Right.
But it's the same thing as the 9M. You unscrew your front end cap
Yep.
and you break your front module off. And since the threads on the front module and your serialized component are the same thing,
They match.
you just screw it in and you now have a shorter little can.
Okay.
And for rimfire and things like that, you're going to go from about 114 dB in the long configuration to about 118 dB.
Okay.
So you're giving
But
up
if you're shooting, if you don't want all that extra weight out front on like
Absolutely.
a Smith & Wesson Victory or something like
Yep.
that, you can shorten it up, which makes it completely easy. And then you can go back to like a Ruger 1022 and lengthen it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's giving the user the ability to just change it just a little bit. So 9M,
Well, and
same
talk
thing.
about the 9 MHD.
Yeah, so what we did is we used to sell one called the 9M.
Right.
So what we did this time is we said, we know that guys wanted to shoot more 115 grain supersonic
Right.
ammo. They wanted to be able to shoot 300 blackout through it, things like that, where it was like, typically the 9M was one stainless steel blast baffle, and then the rest of the baffles were aluminum. So what we did instead is we said the whole front module was filled with stainless baffles.
Okay.
Right, and then the front tube, right now, what we're working on, right, and we're kind of going back and forth and playing with it a little bit, but at least in this version, the front tube is also made of titanium.
Okay.
So that gives us the ability to PVD it, make all those coatings better. All the actual stainless components are PVD'd inside, so it's going to be easier to clean. You're going to get more longevity out of those, and you're going to be able to shoot more supersonic ammo through it.
That's awesome.
So it still comes apart. You have interchangeable
All
pistons.
toolless.
All toolless. You got a front module, and you have your front end cap.
Right.
So it comes apart just like that.
All right. So if you're going from a full size to a compact or something like that, it's easy to change out.
Yeah, and I mean, really, like if you're the kind of guy and you want to have a nightstand gun,
Which is something that a lot of guys don't think about, is because I have a big problem with sitting there and guys that'll like go like, yeah, I've got my battle belt next to my nightstand, and I'm like, how long are you gonna have when the intruder breaks in? Like from point A.
Hold on
a second. Wait,
I'm gonna get my plate carrier on.
Yep, gotta get my plate carrier.
I'm ready.
Let me get my ears. Oh crap, where are my ears?
Where are my Peltors?
Yeah.
Ooh, hold on, I gotta look cool.
So
No, I'm kidding.
so I don't have to actually use and then he like goes out and he forgets his gun, he forgets his firearm. He's like all kitted up. Like an intruder will look at you and go, he means business. I better leave.
Yeah, at
100%
least then
that's
you
what
just
can
scare
happen.
him.
Yeah.
You could always just take your pants off and be like, "You want to fight?" You remember that joke?
I don't remember that joke, Ben. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been there before. No, that's great. So let's go back to your hunt and talk about the hunting side of it. And so you were in Colorado at an undisclosed location.
Of course. I'm not giving my secrets away
Right.
here. Come on.
But public land, and you had a Jaeger 30 on,
I did.
300 Win Mag.
Yep. So I got a Tika, put a proof research barrel on it because I bought one that didn't have the threaded barrel, and I was tired of losing my hearing. So
Yeah, that happens. I hear that more often than not. Guys going back and either getting it threaded or replacing their barrels just for this.
yeah, and I mean it's worth it. And the real value for it for me was, and I'll be honest, I pulled my first shot.
Yeah,
I missed. Right.
and that is the worst feeling.
Is the worst feeling because I you immediately reload and you're like, oh God, I really hope he didn't run off.
Yep.
It was so quiet though that it didn't register to him
Right.
like a normal gunshot, right? Then I was like, okay, and I was hunting with my brother, and he's like, hey man, you shot under him.
Okay.
Like, go a little higher. Lit it off again, and the audible difference when you actually make contact with it, it's like a baseball bat hitting a watermelon from 300 yards. So you can hear that audible difference, and you're like, oh,
It's that deep thud. I mean,
yeah. And my brother's like, he's down. I'm like
that quick.
Like that quick. He took one step and he fell over.
Well, I think that's one thing that I don't see when I'm hunting. Like when a gunshot goes off, it's hard to hear that thud and know that you've got impact.
Right.
But even Ryan this year on Wyoming Hunt, he was hunting AAC can and shoots 266-yard shot, and you hear it. I mean, and I'm like, and he's racking another one back in. I go, wait, he's done. Like, you don't have to. And he's like, yeah.
I heard it.
Oh, yeah, I heard it. Like,
Yeah,
so.
and so now there is a disadvantage, right? And I'm not going to try and
Wait.
I won't
I'm
sugarcoat
anxious
it.
to hear what you have, because it's.
Well, so especially for hunting guns, right? Hunting guns are long,
Right.
right? So the one disadvantage that you have is that you're hanging another 9 inches or 7 inches off,
Yeah.
depending on what can you have, off the end of your gun. So you have to you have to be mindful of that. That maybe the first 2 days that you're packing in, or when you're packing your meat out, right,
Yeah.
and you're taking the gun out, well, you don't have to have your can on.
Right.
But morning of the hunt, just if, especially out west, when you're hunting out west, that's something that I was like, man, this thing's kind of long.
Yeah.
So now I have ideas for
So
going
you're
back, and I'm
you're
like,
running like a 22-inch barrel, something like that.
24.
24-inch
Yep.
barrel. Well,
So-
then then you're adding a little bit more. But a lot of the guys, I mean, you look at the firearms that are out there right now. Like, I know a lot of guys are offering 20-inch barrels and stuff
Yep.
like that, which are shorter barrels, but you add a little bit of length to it. And
You'll get a little bit of boost,
Yeah.
right? You will with a can, because you're just giving a little bit more. There's more room
Mhm.
for that pressure to expand and that
Right.
gas to deflagrate a little bit and build pressure. You're not going to see the same as you would see with a barrel with the given.
Right.
It's not a linear.
Right.
You're not getting for 2 inches of barrel.
There's
you're not 2
no
inches of
twist in
silencer.
this. There's no
No.
twist in this, so it's
Yeah, so you're not going to get 200 or 400 feet per second. You're going
Right.
to get a little birthday bump, but I think for the value of being able to hear,
Yeah.
and then also know that every time I pull the trigger, I'm not going to in 20 years be deaf
Right.
or have ringing in my ears. At least from
Not from this.
not from this. Maybe death metal concerts and
That'll
other
happen.
things, machine guns.
It's the lawnmower, man. That's what gets them all. It's the lawnmower, sitting on the lawnmower.
Yeah, that's actually I'm a big proponent of wearing ear protection.
Yep.
All the time.
Yeah, well, especially to maintain it, because the sounds are what really make the hunt. Like,
Absolutely.
we don't go out there just to mindlessly roam around looking for animals. It's gathering in, and that hearing allows us to do that.
Absolutely. And I mean,
You know?
this year, I heard them at night. When I woke up, I could hear them. There was
Yeah.
there was 3 bulls on my left, 2 bulls way back. I heard 3 bulls up another canyon.
Yeah.
I was calling, and being able to, if you don't have good hearing,
You can't
don't,
interact.
You don't know how loud you're walking either, right? So you might be
Yeah.
stumbling through the forest and thinking like, man, I'm really quiet.
I'm
man.
stealthy in my old age.
Why is there no animals around here? But
So I have a question. So your dad's probably hunting with a can now.
he's
He's
not
not.
he's not now.
He's not now.
He was a quarter mile from me hunting
Okay.
with another guy. So it was amazing that they got there first day,
Right.
like opening day within 2 hours of sunup. He gets one, I get one. They were only a quarter mile away through a meadow,
Right.
and they went, "You shot?" We had to call on the radio 2 hours. They were like, "Where are these guys?" 3 hours
Really?
later, we were still butchering, and we were like, "Hey, we got one. Where are you guys?"
So they didn't know you shot.
Didn't know we shot.
Another benefit.
Another, yeah. Well,
I mean,
it's you're saving your hearing. You're not causing such a ruckus in the
Right.
valley or wherever you're hunting, so you're not going to spook the animals. It gives you a higher probability. I'm not gonna guarantee that you're going to kill something with
well,
it.
no,
But
no, it's never a guarantee. So, what's the biggest thing that you hear people? Is it the tax stamp? Is it the waiting time
I think it's the wait time.
that
Right.
that deters people from getting these?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are willing if they know the value, right? And
Yeah.
the hardest thing is like, and again, we come to a show and we're like, it's a black tube. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah,
If you can, go to a local gun store, and if they have the ability to rent a can, right? If you
Okay.
have a local range
Yeah.
that does rentals and you're interested and you're wondering, just go out and
rent it.
or even just stand there and listen to some guy and try and hear it, because
Yeah.
the value really comes from when you hear it, and especially when you're on your hunt or even just on the range. But I don't know. I think that they're becoming increasingly more important, especially as we start to look at this from, at some point, guns are going. You're looking at it from a health perspective,
Right.
Right.
And
Your
this
ear
is a
health.
big part of it.
This is a big help. This is a big part. You can wear earmuffs, right, and that's still only knocking 25 dB off. But if you're shooting an unsuppressed 300 Win Mag, it's still loud.
Oh yeah. It's still
muffled.
out. But, you know, what I do when I get a new can, here's what I do. I go in, I reluctantly do all the paperwork, I pay the tax stamp, and then I forget about it. I just forget about it.
That's the best way to do it because, you know,
Like, don't sit by the phone going, okay, have they reviewed my paperwork yet? Have they just forget about it.
forget about it.
One day it's going to show up.
And the other thing is, you know, the ATF is making improvements into their systems. Things will, I expect things to start coming down.
They have, okay, I'm going to stop you on there. I'm going to say you're wrong. The ATF has not made an improvement until they make these 100% legal.
Oh,
I can buy it over the counter and walk out of it. They have not done their job until that happens.
Well, I guess we have to repeal the NFA then.
That's it.
Write your congressman.
No, seriously. Write your congressman because these are important. And, man, it's good to see AAC back. Like, this is good for the industry.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be back, and I appreciate you bringing me on and letting me, you know, ramble with you.
Yeah, it's always fun. Ben Bachmeier, AAC, the Jaeger, the Ti-RANT, and this little guy down here, the Halcyon. That's probably my next one. I don't have a 22 can yet, and that's going to be on my list. So NASGW 2021, we'll be back with more just whenever. We're just hanging in there, doing the same thing as you, working our way through this beautiful Thursday afternoon.
Thanks for watching Gun Talk Live. For more great gun content, subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. You can always watch the Gun Talk channels on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon. And of course, you can always find us at guntalk.com. Thanks for watching.